and welcome back to Save Ourselves, or if you're new here, then hi. I am Aparna, and in today's video, we will be discussing the 12 books that I read in 2022. Now, 2022 wasn't a very good year of reading for me in terms of my consistency. Most of the books that I have read have been either in the first 3 months or the last 3 months of 2022. So I might not remember all of the details of the books that I have read, which is why I'll be referring to my laptop for notes. But in terms of the books, I managed to read quite a good selection of books this year, and all of the books that I've read are either 3 stars or above. So I'll be sharing the details of each book and how much I've rated it with you in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. The first book that I read was South of the Border, West of the Sun by Haruki Murakami. I always start my new year with a book by Murakami because Murakami's birthday is in January and I just want to start off my reading on a good note with the author that I know that I love. So I gave this book 5 stars, and it was an unputdownable and gripping read which managed to stir up every unsettling emotion within me. The next book that I read was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, I really love the ideas that she put forth, but I didn't really find the writing style to be very engaging, which is why this book gets 3 stars. But if you're looking for a push for any creative project that you've been mulling over, this is certainly a great read that I would recommend reading at least once in your life. The third book that I read was Animal Farm by George Orwell. Now, I've read 1984 before, and like that, I think there's a consistency in his writing style that somehow manages to stay with you no matter which book of his you are reading. The Orwellian kind of writing always manages to find a permanent spot in your brain, and no matter how politically inclined you are, for example, I'm not that politically inclined at all, this book will certainly change your perspective of looking at things no matter what kind of a background you are coming from. Animal Farm gets 5 stars from my end. The next book that I read was The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Now, this book gets 4 stars because I love the perspective that the author is coming from. I haven't read a lot of books about finance, but this one definitely is set apart because of the psychology aspect that the author wants to reiterate, and he tells us how we make most of our money related decisions based on our experiences and temperaments instead of the information that we have about investing, saving, etc. So this book is definitely a good starting off point if you're planning to get into more of financial reading and learning about investments, savings, and so on. The next book that I read was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Now, this was a very easy breezy read, and it's the perfect book for someone who's trying to get back or get into reading for the first time. It's set in a very distinct cafe. There's lots of coffee and characters with a lot of depth. So it has all the right ingredients to become a really good book. The book gets 4 stars from me because the plot of this book is very refreshing. Next up, we have Colorless Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami. This is another 4-star read for me. It's a rather colorful and deeply stirring narrative of human sorrow, and I think Murakami and his characters have that solitary, eccentric vibe about them which I somehow relate to very much, and this book managed to hit all the right notes for me. Next up, we have another 4-star reading, which is Unaccustomed Earth by Jhumpa Lahiri. Now, this was my first book written by her, and I have become an instant fan, and I will definitely reaching out for more of her books because I really love her style of writing. And Unaccustomed Earth is a collection of short stories which I feel is a very good way to get into the writing style of the writer because it's not too lengthy and it's filled with various kinds of plots and stories which lets you see the creative side of the writer as well. After getting introduced to Jhumpa Lahiri's work, I then picked up another one of her books called The Namesake, and this was definitely a 5-star read for me because it's an extraordinary tale about a mundanely ordinary character. And I feel most of us live kind of pretty ordinary lives which are not really book worthy or movie worthy, but then Jhumpa Lahiri has managed to take this ordinariness and turn it into an extraordinary tale, which I feel all of us deserve. So this book was very refreshing and quite a good read, which is why it gets 5 stars from me. The next book that I picked up was Aleph by Paulo Coelho. Now, like all of others Paulo Coelho books, this also managed to float a few inches above my level of understanding. But in short, this book is about love, soulmates, and passion. And it takes you on an interesting journey through the mainland of Russia. So, if you're looking for something like that, then this would probably be a good read. But from my end, this gets 3 stars. Next, I picked up a classic which is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Now, the book is very slowly paced and is filled with lengthy sentences, which I think reiterates the slow combustion of a person's existence. Now, I didn't really engage with this lengthy style of book, but I did manage to find the story to be quite appealing. So, if you're looking for something like that, then you should definitely read this book at least once, in my opinion. Also, I feel it's like a breath of fresh air to step away from modern 21st century literature and step back into a periodic tale, which was definitely a plus point for me. Love in the Time of Cholera gets 3 stars from me. Next up, I picked up The Elephant Vanishes, which is a collection of short stories by Haruki Murakami. Now, I don't love his short stories as much as his novels, but The Elephant Vanishes was definitely an interesting read for me, and a couple of stories that stood out to me were Sleep and The Elephant Vanishes. The book gets 3 stars from me for this balanced collection of stories that managed to stick out and stories that I don't remember much of. I also typically end my yearly reading with a Murakami book because I feel like December and the winter season is the perfect setting to immerse yourself in the words of Murakami, and that's why I picked up The Norwegian Wood, which I had read about 5 years ago, and it was my first Murakami book ever. Despite being a quintessential Murakami book which is read and loved all over the globe, this book does not have the typical Murakami-ness of a regular Murakami book, and Murakami has himself said so in one of his interviews. Despite all of that, this book still gets a 5-star read from me because it's such an easy read, but it still manages to stir up all of these emotions inside you. And I feel that with each read, I am able to extract newer meanings and look at it from a fresh perspective, which is why I ended my yearly reading with a 5-star read. And there you have it. These were the 12 books that I read in 2022. Let me know if you enjoy these types of reading and book related videos by giving it a thumbs up and by letting me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you'd like to see more of these videos, or maybe on a monthly or even a quarterly basis, where I do a roundup of all the books that I've read in a particular month or in a particular season. I would love to do that, and that would also inspire me to read more. Out of all the 12, I would definitely recommend all of these 12 books because none of them were lesser than a 3-star read for me. And all of these books are linked in the description below if you want to check any of these out. I will be back with another video next Sunday. Till then, take care and keep on reading. Bye bye.